as quote unquote progressives, Democrats, we're constantly talking about, what's wrong with the boys instead of what's right with them. We rightly have tried to invest in girls to make sure that there's a level playing field, but we haven't been as willing, I think, to be intentional about investing in the boys, and that's been a mistake.
What is he even talking about? Does he know? Does Barack know? I don't think so. I think he's confused. Yes, it is the Chris Plant Show, and that was Barack Hussein Obama on his wife's podcast, making an appearance to, I guess, quiet some rumors and make some controversial statements and various other things. He also said that all young men need to have gay men in their lives, which is kind of interesting. Is it not? Kind of concerning, I think. I'm not sure why he would say that, but it was fascinating. It's Mike Opelka, by the way. I'm in for my friend Chris Plant and the Chris Plant Show. There's a mountain of news and information we need to share with you since last we got together. If you had not heard, the president is suing the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion. That's a lot of billions. And that is truly why I believe CNN has started to suddenly distance itself from things like the Epstein letter that Trump reportedly or allegedly was said to have written and doodled upon. He did sign it. It definitely looks like his signature, but the rest of it's in question. But I'm still vexed by this crazy appearance of Barack Obama on his wife's podcast last week and the things that were said. And what's more bizarro to me is how Barack Obama kept getting interrupted by his wife. And folks who are married understand this, and sometimes we finish each other's sentences, but it's rare that we correct each other's sentences or affirm them during the conversation. And I got a feeling that there's more to this podcast than we have heard. I wonder if there were any outtakes. Here's the Barack Obama endorsement of straight people, straight young men having gay people in their lives, which is like, why did this even come up? I don't know.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times boys need is not just exposure to one guy.
One dad.
Listen to Michelle cannot let him get a sentence out without basically saying, hey, don't forget what we talked about in the pre-show. Don't forget all the points. Let's go back to that here. It's so irritating.
Not just exposure to one guy.
One dad.
One dad. No matter how good the dad
is. He can't be everything.
He can't be everything.
She's finishing what he's trying to say as if she went over the same sentences in the pre-show notes. I'm telling you.
And then that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college.
Now, I find this hard to believe. I am stunned. I am shocked. There was a gay professor in college. Come on. Seriously, Barack.
At a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line.
Well, they were out in college, especially when you were there.
Became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant.
Well, a good college professor would call anyone out when they were saying things that would be ignorant. But what were you saying that was ignorant? I would like to know. And where is this college professor now? One assumes it's been a while, so this college professor is probably no longer with us.
You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group, so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Really, really interesting. And this is from that podcast that popped last week, the latest version of the Michelle Obama podcast with a special guest appearance by husband Barack Obama. But if you go back and listen to it, you don't have to give up too much of your time to do this. I don't suggest you do this. Just pay attention to what's being prompted by Michelle Obama. It really is bizarro to me, very bizarre. But then again, that's the way these things are happening. You want to discuss any of the things we're talking about today? 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Just wanted to share that with you because these clips of the Obamas keep popping up. And, Barack Obama suddenly back in the headlines as the Trump administration, specifically thanks to what the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, put out last week, and promises that there will be more releases coming up this week. There will be more from Tulsi Gabbard. There are serious legal concerns that might be facing the former president of the United States, although this is one of those I'm going to wait and see. This is one of those that I want to see, okay, what's going to happen with what we learned from the Director of National Intelligence. What will come of this? Tulsi Gabbard was on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday talking about the things she released. Some of them are redacted a little bit, but they're basically declassified documents as it relates to the Russia, and Russia collusion hoax. Here's a little bit of the conversation with Maria Bartiromo from yesterday.
The implications of this are, frankly, nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected.
Now, one of the things that's interesting to me here, especially when we start taking in the historical perspective on this, all of these meetings happened. I think the first one started December 9th. Some of the preliminary may have happened December 8th, and then went all the way through just prior to President Trump being sworn in the first time. And I flash back to that Oval Office meeting between Barack Obama and then the newly elected President Trump, or about to be inaugurated President Trump, and how Obama was trying to say, we just want America to succeed. And if all of this is true, and why wouldn't it be true? Because now we actually have the receipts. Was Obama just flat out lying to us? It could happen. Here's a little more from that conversation. D&I Gabbard with Maria Bartiromo yesterday on Fox News.
This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American, because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president, commander-in-chief of the United States. And so they decided that they would do everything possible to try to undermine his ability to do what voters tasked President Trump to do. So creating this piece of manufactured intelligence that claims that Russia had helped Donald Trump get elected contradicted every other assessment that had been made previously in the months leading up to the election that said exactly the opposite, that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to try to, quote unquote, hack the United States election for the presidency of the United States. So the effect of what President Obama and his senior national security team did was subvert the will of the American people, undermining our democratic republic. and enacting what would be essentially a years-long coup against President Trump, who was duly elected by the American people.
Now, no question, President Trump was in fact elected by the American people. No question at all. No doubt on that. The issue at stake here, the big issue, is whether or not there actually was and some of the terms are suspicious or seditious conspiracy against Donald Trump, and tie in all the people that you've seen, all the usual suspects who were involved in this. And there's even a Brady Bunch opening title credits that's shown up as a meme on the internets that is pointing all of this out. And it's got as I said, the usual suspects on it, all the people that you've seen in the past that are there. Samantha Power. And how did she get all her money, by the way? Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, Ben Rhodes, Barack Hussein Obama. So where does this go? Does this go further? Well, Tulsi Gabbard has promised there will be more documents this week. She has promised that we are going to get more. We'll get more. And the term seditious conspiracy was popping today. And there are a lot of folks that are saying, well, this is seditious conspiracy. Well, is it seditious conspiracy? There are questions about the definition of seditious conspiracy and sedition. And they do, in fact, use the word, I think it's war. And there are questions about whether it needed to be kinetic action against the United States government, as opposed to this, which kind of floats more into the intellectual action against the U.S. government. But we'll see. And is the ruling that came out of the Supreme Court earlier last year that has given Donald Trump cover, is that going to give Barack Obama cover? Can he say, I was doing my job as president, so you can't go after me? We shall see. I want to see the next round of documents. What do you think about it? 888-630-9625. I've got more from Tulsi Gabbard. I have much more from Tulsi Gabbard, and also some crazy things that we heard over the weekend as well. But I'd like to get your thoughts on this. We'll go to the phones just around the corner. It's Mike Opelka. I'm in for Chris Plant right here on The Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant. Just saw a picture of Chris having dinner on the cruise ship. Looks very lovely. Aside from the fog that we encountered earlier, that we saw earlier, it looks very lovely. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome to be a part of the show at 888-630-9625. The discussion currently on the table is relating to what Tulsi Gabbard has revealed. And the reveal appears to be, based on these first 100 documents with more promise to follow, points to a full-on manufactured conspiracy to mess with the Trump administration after Donald Trump was elected in the fall of 2016. And I'm just questioning, are we going to see anybody frog-marched, anybody arrested, indicted? I'm wondering if Obama will. He seems just to be so Teflon. Nothing sticks to this guy. I'd be doubtful that's going to happen, but some of you want to weigh in on this. Rob is calling from Germantown, Maryland. Hello, Rob. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Well, good morning, sir. How are you today?
I'm great. Glad to have you here.
Happy Monday. Glad to be here and chime in on this. Yeah. Obama, he's Teflon, and then you look at all these other cutesy things that were taking place while Biden was in there, the January 6th commission and and they were all, excused It's like I like to say excused instead of pardoned. And these people, the snake, the head of the snake was Obama, of course, but this deep state, it's still around. It's still showing its head with a little leak here and a little leak there. And I want to see somebody punished. All this noise, all the talk. I mean, I've heard Comer now for I don't know how long saying, well, we're doing this and we're doing. I mean, I know that things move slow in D.C. Maybe 50 years from now, we'll be able to finally say, oh, goody, if we're still alive. But, I want to see some people punished, because they really have. They've made a wreck of our whole system of government.
One of the things that we talk about with one of our favorite people, Cheryl Atkinson, who does a great job on her show, Full Measure, is accountability. And I think at the end of last year, we were talking, and I said, what's your hope for 2025? And she said accountability. I would like to see some form of accountability. And I think unless we get someone having to face a trial or a serious investigation to this attempt to subvert the Trump administration, I don't think we can claim a victory. So there won't be accountability until we actually see some action. But thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Let's go to Dave in Chicago, listening on the great WLS. Hello, Dave. Welcome.
Mike, always a great job you do. We call this the lid. You were playing that tape from Barack and Michelle. Mm-hmm. He's trying to get ahead of something that's coming out, and based upon that goofy language that he was saying and she was coaching, one can clearly guess with logic that what he's trying to get ahead of. He has personal issues in his past that are going to be coming out. They're involving him and his wife that are going to be exposed more. He's under investigation criminally. All this stuff is going to be coming out. He's trying to protect his quote-unquote legacy, which is all they care about, legacy, money, and power. And I think it's going to be coming down around his ears.
So you think that there may be a large and loud personal issue that will overwhelm this possible investigation into what was done in the early days of the Trump administration?
Yeah, you can only pay off people for so long to try to keep it quiet. I think it also got out where Michelle learned about it. I think it's affecting his personal life. It's a very, very serious thing. And I think he's trying to get ahead of it by saying how you have to have every man should have a gay friend in his life so that you know you're not there alone by yourself. All that, it's outcome determinative language. That's why it doesn't make any sense. There's an outcome they're aiming for. Judges do that. I'm on my way to court. Judges do that when they have rulings that make no sense. It's because they're trying to get to a certain predetermined outcome. And that's what he's doing. He's trying to get ahead of something here.
That's a great analysis. Outcome determinative language. If you listen to what people are telling you, they're often trying to point you to where they would like you to go. Well done, Dave. Well done. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you being there. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Platt. There's more around the corner on the Chris Platt Show. It is the Chris Platt Show. Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Platt. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. You're welcome to join the conversation. We're trying to get into everything that happened since we left you on Friday, and my goodness, there's a whole bunch of stuff. We're in the middle of this discussion about what DNI Tulsi Gabbard has released since Friday, and there's apparently more coming out as it relates to the efforts to undermine the first Trump administration, and one could make a case for undermining Donald Trump's campaign in 2020 and again in 2024, and you have to wonder how many roots are still in the swamp, dug into the deep state. And I go back to, remember that interview on 60 Minutes with Leslie Stahl and Donald Trump? It got a little confrontational.
When they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
Well, there's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally verified.
No.
Just go down and get the papers. They spied on my campaign. They got caught.
No.
And then they went much further than that, and they got caught. And you will see that, Leslie.
You will see that, Leslie. Has anyone reached out to Leslie Stahl? Has anyone checked in with Leslie Stahl to say, have you seen that now? Have we sent her the 100 documents that were released? Have we? I just wonder. 60 Minutes may not be allowed to respond to any questions right now, especially after the $16 million settlement with Donald Trump over what specifically 60 Minutes did with the Kamala Harris interview just before the election. That's going to leave a mark. That's going to hurt. Just amazing to me. It should be to you. And I just wonder if 60 Minutes will have covered any of this, or CBS News will have covered any of this. I have not checked to see how many seconds, because I wouldn't dare say how many minutes that 60 Minutes or CBS News would have spent covering Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard's release of information. I don't think she would. We go back not that long ago, go back 7 months ago, to January of this year, when John Brennan, one of the people who appears to have his fingerprints on this, didn't want Tulsi Gabbard to be the Director of National Intelligence, and spent considerable time on places like MSNBC telling people that.
Again, it's the President's Daily Brief, but also the role that the Director of National Intelligence, Director of CIA play in order to ensure that the people who have to make those decisions in the National Security Council are fully informed about what the reality is, what the intelligence is, what our intelligence gaps are. And if they withhold things, or if they skew things, it really is going to be detrimental to
Real quick before we let you go, Director, do those agency heads have, in that moment you're describing in that room, have that realization that, wait a minute, that's not what we told you? I mean, in other words, how does that coordination become undone when the person who's putting the final brief is skewed the information?
Well, I like to think that, Secretary of State Rubio, who is very familiar with the intelligence profession, is going to be speaking up, because you have the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, others who are going to be there. So you want to make sure, again, that you have people who are informed, but also people who want to know the truth.
Right.
You wouldn't know the truth if it came up to you and tongue-kissed you. I'm serious. My goodness, this guy doesn't have any relationship with the truth. These are the people who fell for the Russia collusion hoax, or were part of it, were the perpetrators of it, were the people who advanced it, who helped structure it, who altered the president's daily briefing. In the very beginning of that, you hear Brennan saying that the president's daily briefing could be skewed. Remember the adage, you point a finger at me, there's 3 pointing right back at you. So the PDBs that you are a part of, they may have been skewed to get your personal agenda dealt with. I'm just saying, this is all so obvious to me. Let's grab a couple of calls here. This is such a hot topic. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Sean in South Carolina. Sean, welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Michael. Yeah, it wouldn't matter a hill of beans if you baked a cake with all the evidence in it and you pushed Leslie Stahl's face in it. Leslie Stahl is there for one reason, to stop one side and promote the other. Now, we're going to have more releases of more emails, and we're going to have more investigations in the House. We're going to have more investigations in the Senate. I'm tired of investigations. I've been voting since Ronald Reagan, and I can't remember one time that a Democrat went to prison. But I can sure as heck remember plenty of times when they put Republicans in jail.
Well, I think was James Traficant a Republican House member, the guy with the bad hairpiece? I think he went to jail for a little bit of time. Yeah, and do we remember Blagojevich? He went for selling the Obama Senate seat, but only for a brief period of time. But you're right. there's a great amount of frustration with the number of investigations that never seem to yield an actual accountability. We see the paperwork. We see all the Hunter Biden stuff we saw, all the money that was flowing into the Hunter Biden network of fake corporations and then got funneled out to the family members, that no accountability was ever applied to the people involved in that. So it is frustrating. I get your frustration, Sean, but we'll see, especially with more information coming out. Thank you. Appreciate you being there. Ted is in Williamsburg, Virginia. Hello, Ted. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you very much, Michael. Now,
you got.
I got a very basic question about this. I just don't understand why they held the documents. What's the point of holding the documents that could come back and cause difficulty for you, incriminating? I just don't understand that. And what are the documents? Do you have any idea what they actually are?
Well, they've released some of them. Out of the 100 documents, we see some of the statements about the president's daily briefing and what's included in there, and the CIA and intelligence analysis that says that Russia didn't have the ability to alter our elections. Russia didn't have the ability to meddle, as so many on the left and so many in the left side of the mainstream media were saying. And that's in those documents. But there apparently are more to come. And I'm hoping we do see them. Why? But why did they keep them? I think the answer to that is you can't delete them. You can't, even though Hillary Clinton and her little bleach bit stunt, you can't really get rid of documents. And with so many people in the chain of recipients of those emails, it's almost impossible to get everybody to fake it. That's why I always tell everybody, I have some friends who don't think we landed on the moon, which, by the way, was 56 years ago yesterday. I have some friends who think we were never there. And I said, how would you fake that with tens of thousands of people involved? But you got hundreds of people involved in the White House, in the mechanism that keeps the White House running. And then you add in the CIA, you add in the intelligence agents, and there were 17 of them. Somewhere I've got a montage of all those people repeating that. So they can't really get rid of them. And even if they try and Zorch the hard drives, there's ways to recover them. We found stuff after the January 6th committee had folded that was pretty damning. So they can't really get rid of it. But it's rare that they come forward with them. And that's why I'm kind of happy about this. But thank you. Let's go back to Chicago and Peter listening to the Chris Plant Show. Hello, Peter. Welcome.
Oh, hi, Michael.
How you doing, brother?
Well, okay. Anyways, even if we do get on trial, it's a D.C. jury. We're not going to get a conviction. But in the court of public opinion, oh, yeah, we'll get the conviction there for sure.
So you're already saying you don't think anybody will be convicted because it's D.C., but it's a big enough win. The public opinion is a big enough win for you.
Yeah, in other words, we're going to have to sell for that, and a book where we write how corrupt they are.
Well, that would be good. I'd like to see a book. Maybe we'll see.
It's a great one. Mark Levin should write that book.
Yeah, Mark Levin would be a good person to put that together. Maybe he's working on it right now. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard is working on it, I wonder. Or somebody in her office. We will see. But thank you. Excellent thought on that. I know everybody wants to see actions or results on this, but that there's a very good chance this will get dragged on for years and years and years. And I do believe there's a price to be paid by the people who are implicated in this. Let's go back to what happened to Michael Flynn. General Flynn really had his life destroyed by all the allegations that were made by the people who put this whole thing together. We can go back to that. And one of the people I think is getting nervous is Shifty, Adam Shifty Schiff. Schiff, who spent pretty much all of his career just smearing Donald Trump. You go back to January, and I think he was getting nervous. He was getting nervous about the incoming administration, even though he was going to be moving over to the Senate where he thought he'd have cover. Adam Schiff just doesn't seem to be making sense. He seems to be blathering here.
They could go after the president's enemies They could open investigations of people for no reason, with no evidence. They could potentially pressure prosecutors to move forward with charges without an adequate basis. Now, I have faith in the court system that those cases ultimately get thrown out. I have faith in the jury system, but they could really turn people's lives upside down in the process.
Who would those people be? Would you maybe know one of those people? Initials AS? I wonder if his middle name is Sam. That'd be an interesting set of initials. Adam Schiff projecting.
And of course, merely opening an investigation against someone, even if it's without merit, that can create a cloud over that person.
Gee, like the investigation into General Flynn, every investigation into Donald Trump.
And I'm sure one way they, may be contemplating going after their enemies is to open unwarranted investigations, make the fact of the investigation public, and attempt to smear people.
Projection. That's everything. He got a pardon. He got a serious pardon. I wonder if it's going to hold up. We'll see. We'll have to dive into this. One of the people who understands this, I think, pretty well is Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida. Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida was also on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday talking about this scandal.
How was it that this cabal of senior people in the Obama White House was able to convince so many people of this lie when they had no evidence whatsoever of it?
Well, they got away with it because once they leaked these false narratives and false reports, you had big media organizations who just went lock, stock, and barrel, did not fact check, did not go and do the extra work, did not do any due diligence whatsoever. They just followed and towed the company line. And then you have the deep careers in the intelligence community who either they were afraid of being fired or having their clearances revoked, or B, were so concerned about a Donald Trump presidency that they felt it was okay to concoct false information into the American people, into the body politic. So Anna is completely correct. There need to be arrests on this matter. People need to go to jail on this because this is about the republic. This is not about one president. It is about the presidency and the continuation of our country.
I agree with him. I'm just dubious that something's going to come of this, that there will be actual arrests of this. All right, just around the corner, the Democrats are pulling out some of the old standards. Beto O'Rourke was spotted on the Sunday talk shows. Yeah, that was kind of weird. We'll get to that. And Keith Olbermann, remember him before he lost his mind? Well, we've got a special clip from him. And, of course, today, it's Junk Food Day. We should talk about the greatest junk food. Maybe all of it is the greatest junk food. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. It is The Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. Oh, my goodness, just looking at all the things we have yet to get to. Lindsey Graham was something we will have to play next hour. Kind of an amazing statement that he made. I have news on Jim Carrey. And I know you're saying, who cares about Jim Carrey? Well, it relates to a very popular topic for the people of New York City, the people of Minneapolis, who are being faced with the chance to elect a socialist. So we'll talk about that. The WNBA had its All-Star game over the weekend. Frankly, I didn't watch. I don't know anybody who watched, but there was a lot of noise about all of the WNBA players coming out on the, not that way, coming out on the court and wearing the same T-shirts that say, pay us what we're worth. Some of you would not be happy to be handed a roll of quarters now. Would you? Is that wrong? Is that wrong for me to say? Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's the truth, and maybe the truth will set you free. The best take on the WNBA is an old take, and it came from the late and truly great comedian Norm Macdonald, who said this.
After closing out a successful first season, the WNBA is considering several changes to improve the level of play in the league next year. Among the proposals, extending the playoffs, increasing salaries, bringing back the three-point line, and replacing all the female players with guys.
I kind of like this idea, and I'm wondering when the first trans player is going to be in the WNBA.
The WNBA officials expanded to 10 teams this week, adding franchises in Detroit and Washington, D.C. But before you get too excited about the new additions to the league, remember, all of the players are still women. They stink at basketball. That's the problem. Other than that, it'd be a good, good game, but they're all horrible, so it makes for a kind of a boring game.
He was hilarious. He was brilliant. But, there are people who will make the case that it's good basketball. It's just not on the same level as the NBA now, is it? And Caitlin Clark is pretty darn talented. I'll give her that. But if you were to go out on the street today with a $100 bill in your hand and just randomly stop people and say, can you name 10 current or past WNBA stars, I will bet you're going home with your $100 bill in your pocket. I'm just saying, unless you run into a relative of Caitlin Clark's, it ain't happening. It ain't happening at all. And just for the record, the WNBA and the women who were wearing all the shirts that say, pay us what you owe us, every one of them basically owes the NBA money because the NBA is fronting the money for the WNBA to the tune of $40 million a year with no sight in profitability in mind, no profitability in sight at all, not even coming up. Just crazy stuff. As I said, the number you want to reach out and join the conversation, it's 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Let's get one last quick thought from Charlie in DeLand, Florida. Hello, Charlie. You've got the floor.
Good morning, Michael. Happy Monday.
Happy.
So, as Hillary Clinton would say, Tulsi Gabbard is totally a Russian asset. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes.
So in California, President Trump has defunded the train to nowhere.
Yes, you better hurry. Clock's ticking.
The Senate Bill 519 in California, they're going to be turning the Palisades, all those homes that burned, and they're going to turn it into low-income housing.
Oh, we're going to dig into that, but I'm out of time right now. It's Opelka for Plant, on the Chris Plant Show.